Hello and welcome to Master It Monday. I am your host, Maggie Carey, and today we have a treat. We have a special guest who's going to talk to us about attracting clients. Now, you know, we use our social media to attract clients and to keep communicating with them and to be engaging and entertaining. Well, our special guest today is going to talk about branding and attracting those special clients like a magnet, the ideal client right to your doorstep or your social media, as the case may be. So, our special guest is Mr. Rob Genovese of Unleash My Beast brand. Rob is a brand builder with over 30 years' experience as a designer. He has worked in advertising, marketing, and publishing. Rob launched his business, Unleash My Beast brand, in 2015 as a website and design company. After coming to the realization that logos and websites didn't actually help businesses succeed, that it's strategy that makes them effective. He evolved his enterprise into a brand strategy company. That's when his clients really started seeing incredible results. Today, Rob's company offers strategy, design, and coaching for businesses looking to level up or scale up to create faster and more efficient growth. Rob is also a husband, a father of four, and a speaker. He's the host of his own YouTube channel, Unleash My Beast brand, where he teaches the power of branding. And I strongly suggest you pop over there to get some amazing free advice. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to my dear friend, Rob Genovese. Hi, Rob. How are you today?
Good. How you doing, Maggie? Thank you for inviting me.
I am so glad you're here. We have a bunch of people already popping on to say hi. Make sure you leave us a little note and say hi. Here we go. Angela, thank you for joining us.
Angela.
And then, of course, we have the amazing Stephanie Bellafato. We were just talking about you. Were your ears burning?
The ever supportive Stephanie Bellafato.
So today, Rob, we were talking about how do people attract clients, right? How are people using their social media, their brand? We kid around a lot. Like, I'm always with the purple. If you are annoyed with my purple, you can blame Rob for that because he said, always wear your brand, always wear your brand. And if I could, make him orange and me purple, I would, but I can't. Oh, we also have Tim joining us. Hi, Tim. How are you? Good to see you. And then, of course, Jean Turman. Yes, you're one of our favorite people too, Jean. Thanks for joining us today. So, Rob, tell us a little bit about how we can attract these clients like magnets. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so we'll just jump right in. The biggest hurdle that companies have is trying to get clients. If you ask any company, it's like anytime I do a face-to-face with somebody or I sit with a client, I go, so I'll say something like, so tell me, what's your biggest challenge? What do you need? And inevitably, they always say, well, need more clients. I need money. I need transactions. I need whatever. I need sales. It always comes down to that because every company obviously needs revenue to stay in business, to turn a profit so they can stay around to provide value. But the problem is they don't know who their client is. They just go, well, I want everybody. We've all heard this because we've all experienced this at some time in our journey, usually in the beginning. If you go for everybody, you end up really not getting anybody because your message is general. And you got to think about it this way. As you said before, I'm a speaker as well. And one of the things you learn as a speaker is whenever you're going before an audience, they say, know your audience, know who your audience is. Because if you go to an audience and your message isn't in line with what they're expecting, you never connect with them. And so it's the same thing with a brand. You have to define who your audience is first. Define who that client is, because then you got to find out, where do they hang out and how do they speak and what do they do and how much do they make and the demographics, the psychographics. When you learn about them, if you painted a picture of them, here's the best example. If you were to take out a missing persons report on your ideal client and you had to describe them right down to the detail, what they look like, what they drive, you would know exactly who you're talking to. And when you know exactly who you're talking to, you can craft your message to connect with them to attract them. It's always connect to attract. And that's the missing piece in most businesses' strategies.
And I see that a lot. When I first started Master It Media, my company was doing websites and social media and public relations, and it was confusing and muddying my message, and people didn't know what how to refer me or who was my ideal client, and it became so difficult to get business because I was all mixed up with my messaging, because I would one day it'd be this and one day it'd be that, right, creating confusion. And then once I fine tuned and zoned in on social media and helping the business owner that struggles with creating their own content, that's when things started to gel. And then business started rolling in. And Rob helped me with that. He is an amazing coach and explains things very clearly. One of the things that I loved about our sessions when we sat down and talked about things, he gave me actionable items. What is your favorite tip that you like to give business owners who are struggling with finding that ideal client? Like what should be their first step that they should do, Rob?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first step I always say is everybody's had nightmare clients and they've had dream clients or ideal clients. So look back in their past and isolate that ideal client that you had, the dream client. Remember who they were and what they did and how they went through the process. I always say there's 4 criteria, generally speaking, to an ideal client. The first one is they got to be willing to pay your fee, right? Nobody wants to haggle over a fee. The second thing is they have to trust in your expertise. If they question you from the beginning, they're going to question you throughout the entire process. The third thing is they've got to have a successful result, so you ensure that. And the fourth thing is they refer you to other people. So those 4 criteria are the basic general criteria of a dream client. So the first thing I say is think back to a dream client that you had, and now paint that picture, take out that missing persons report, really detail them, write it down. Because what you're doing is you're getting a picture in your mind of more of the same. You want more like them. Everybody goes, well, I just want business. And I go, no, you don't. Because when you think back to the nightmare client, the one who didn't satisfy all this criteria, maybe they balked at your price and then they questioned you. How about this? I've gotten this before. If you're a coach of some sort, or if you're a service-based business and it depends on your knowledge, and your client goes and asks somebody else in a similar or the same industry, and then comes back to you and says, hey, what about this? And it's obvious they were talking to somebody else. Like, to me, that's a deal breaker. I look at it like dating. I'm like, we're breaking up, dude. Because if you don't trust me, then why are we even doing this? Like, I don't want your money. I want a successful result. I want a happy client, because a happy client gets results and a happy client refers me to more, and the money will just come. So I'm not worried about that. So look at your past dream client, get a detailed picture of what they look like, and then go find more of them.
And do you find that businesses struggle? Like, we always talk social media here. Do you find that businesses tend to muddy their message in their social media?
Yeah, you said it before, Maggie. It's when people are confused. I think this is one thing that also is a great tip. If you run a business, you have to understand this. Confused people do not buy. So that means this: if your message is muddied and they have to figure out what you do or if you can help, they're not going to buy from you. They're going to buy from the company that makes it easy for them to do business with them. So what does that mean? It means clarifying your message. So, you brought up the example of you and I working together. And I remember a couple of years ago, and you were doing a lot of different things. To your credit, you were doing a lot of different things. But when we started working on your message and start, honing in on what is you really wanted to do, what made you happy, right?
Right.
We found that service, we focused that message, and then you started getting the clients you really wanted to work with that brought you joy and brought you money, brought you, business. And so now you've got a very focused business. You know exactly what you do. They know exactly what you do. And they just go, oh, okay, I get it. Okay, when do we get started? So focusing that message helps them make a fast decision.
Exactly. Jean's quoting you. She says, if you want to be loved, you have to be prepared to be hated. Rob Genevieve, that's the quote I need to have stitched on a pillow. So
Thanks, Gene.
Jean has also been on Master It Monday. She is an amazing photographer, and
Yeah.
it's Jean Turman Photography. Go look her up. Watch our videos that she was on. She provided tremendous value. But when we commiserate, we're all part of Master Networks, and we commiserate about how we struggle, right, with finding that ideal client. But I've got to tell you, that is true, and it's hard. You can't be everything to everybody, right? You
Right.
cannot do it. Stephanie makes a great point, right? Educate your potential client, which was what you were leading up to, right? This is getting the client to understand, and just recently this happened to me where somebody was asking me for a service that I just don't provide. And I said, look, social media is it's a big area now. When I went to college, there were 2 degrees in technology. That was it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there's like
I
crazy.
and T.
That's it. And so now when you look at social media, there's social media management, there's social media marketing. You can niche into Instagram, Facebook. It could be overwhelming. And imagine that's me as in this area, but imagine the business owner that's struggling trying to figure out, where do I go? What do I do? How do I do it? Right. So, um, as far as communicating this message to your client, what are some of the things that okay, so you found your ideal client. Now you've got to, um, to evolve that relationship and stay true to your brand, which is one of the things you also stress, right? You've got to stay true to your brand. If it doesn't match your brand's message, it, then then should you post it? Should you do it? Oh, and Tim's saying reels. Yes, this is, every time you turn around, like Instagram has how many things? Okay, stories, your basic feed, reels, IGTV. I mean, how much more can they do, right? Absolutely, Tim. I totally agree, right?
Yeah.
You could be an expert in all of these things, but how are you? Do you have any suggestion for a business? Like, how should you, once you get that client, how do you keep them, and how do you get them to give you those referrals that you're looking for?
Well, first of all, if they are that ideal client, you know, another tip on getting that ideal client is once you understand them. And look, some of this stuff is not news to a lot of the people watching this. It's not news to many business owners, but you've got to take what we're talking about here and assemble it all together, because what you want to do is that ideal client, you got to understand their pain. And when you understand their pain, what moves them to take action to hire a person like you, whatever your solution is. So when you understand their pain, you can speak to the pain. So for instance, in all my content, all the content that I create, it's based on a struggle that my client is having. And so if you've been in business at least a few years and you've had enough conversations with enough people, you start to hear these recurring questions. That's why they created FAQ pages. Well, FAQs are the perfect example of how to take that pain, because that, if they're asking the question, it's pain. Turn that into a lesson, and turn that lesson into something you post wherever your platform is. When I first started my business and I had no budget for any kind of marketing, I turned to LinkedIn specifically because there's a couple of things I knew. LinkedIn had my ideal client there, and LinkedIn I already had a good amount of connections on there. So I leveraged those connections. I leveraged the professional space, and I knew that video was king over written word or even a photograph with written words. Video topped all that. People would always watch a video over those other things. So I just created every single week a 2, 3, 4 minute video on LinkedIn that educated people. And Stephanie said this before, educate your potential client. That's what I was doing. I was educating them on what branding can do, kind of like we're doing here, but I would do it in 3-minute snippets on the power of branding and how it solves this particular problem for you as a business owner. When you tell them that you have a solution to their problem, That's all people want to know. And they're willing to hand over their money for a solution to their problem. If they have no time and they have budget, they'll always be happy to pay to solve that problem faster.
Yeah. And, Jean's commented here, finding a way to break through the preconceived notions is really hard, right? People think they know what you do, especially, what she's dealing with in her industry of photography. One of the things that I want to kind of pull back out from something you said earlier was, um, how do you see, what suggestions would you have for businesses trying to maintain a consistent brand on their social, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or, they have to have their ideal client. And we talk about, okay, if you're a B2B, you want to consider LinkedIn because that's great. If you're a visual, you want to consider Instagram, right? Depending on your demographic, where are your people, and then go to that platform. But once they finally figured out what platform they should really focus on, how should they keep consistent with their brand on their social?
Well, I think the question of consistency is probably the biggest challenge for most business owners. We're busy doing the thing we do. So becoming consistent is a matter of how much time does it take to create the content that you need to create that is going to generate whatever it is, engagements, shares, saves, whatever, depending on the platform. So the consistency is first, and then your strategy has to be tied to that consistency. So like I said, when I started on LinkedIn, I had no time and no money. So it's like the worst position you could be in. So I knew that the reason I went to video was not just because it was king of content. I can write, but it takes me a long time to get my thoughts out in a way I want to get it out. So for me to sit down and take an hour to write a post that I was going to then upload was too long and not sustainable because I don't really like doing it. But I can talk. So I knew if I could just put a recorder up there, if I could put a camera up there, I can talk for 5 minutes, cut it down to 3, post it, and it's done. And so I could do that every single week, at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. And that would take me a total of maybe 45 minutes, maybe a half hour after I really got rolling. And if I stacked them, if I recorded subsequent ones, so in other words, instead of recording one 5-minute talk, I would record 3 5-minute talks, cut them all down. It would take me 1 hour, and I would have 3 weeks of content. So it's a commitment to consistency according to what you can sustain, and then stay in strategy with what you're doing. So what did I do? All I did was I made sure that if I showed up branded. I was always wearing a t-shirt. You know me, like there's always something orange, got orange back here. So it's these little things that people think are not really important. And if you've been around me long enough, if you've seen more than a couple of things I did, I'm always talking about color because it's the simplest, most inexpensive thing you can do now to start creating a trigger in people's minds to your brand. That's why, when you and I started, already had the color purple, but I don't even think you were using it to the extent you use now. And now it's kind of like, think about this for a second. You don't have to think about how to design your content. It's purple, and then whatever else goes on around it. Right? And the power behind that is, for people watching this, both now and on replay, I'm going to tell you, I was talking with somebody in Master Networks who was not even they weren't a member. And we were talking, she was asking me a little bit about brand. So I started talking about color. And I said, have you been to a couple meetings? She said, yeah, I've been to a couple. I said, do you know Maggie Carey? And she goes, I don't know her, but I've definitely heard of her. I said, what's her color? She goes, purple. Like without hesitation. Like, so there's a trigger in there, right? Mm-hmm. So that trigger, how valuable is that for somebody to go purple, Maggie Carey, all right? Or orange, Unleash My Beast brand, Rob Genovese. So that's really key to be able to hone in on that as part of your strategy. Right. So whether it's Instagram, where, Jean, I appreciate Jean. Jean and I were talking last week, and she was very kind in saying that, as a photographer, first of all, Jean understands brand better than any photographer I've met in my life, bar none. So she's the only person I recommend to shoot my clients. So she understood that. And the biggest compliment she gave me was when she said, you know, now think about this. I take a lot of my own photography for Instagram because, you know, in Jean's words, it's very forgiving of bad photography. So she really knows how to teach you a lesson right there. But she said, but she goes, but it's good for Instagram what you're doing. And she goes, and it's you're so on brand all the time that it works for you. So what she's saying is the strategy behind the content has to be on brand. In other words, with color, with typeface, with message, always, right? The words you use, the words you don't use. If you're talking to a specific client and they use a language that you don't use, there's a disconnect. You want to be able to literally speak their language. If they use one word or another, use that word, because here's what you want them to say. You want them to go, they get me. They're for me, because they want to do business with you then.
And here's just for those of you who want to see what Jean's talking about. This is Rob's Instagram, and you can see he's mixing it up, right? It's all his brand, right? Like this is mixing it all in, and he's got, you know, posting consistently, and, you know, giving those, you know, zoning in on his shirt, his brand, right? It is right there. Which I find extremely, you know, people know what to expect, right? They get you, they know we were in a workshop Rob was presenting in, and somebody said, well, you know, it sounds like Beast brand is, you know, geared towards men. And I'm like, no, I don't see that. Like, because to me, it's like, I got a Beast brand.
That's right.
And I don't think it's gender specific, but you know, when you're using the use of color and you're using the use of, you know, consistent imagery and the style, like it just, and it goes so well, like the background of your gym goes so well with your coloring. It's like perfect, right?
Yeah, it just worked out that way. You know, but a lot of that that Instagram, and by the way, I mean, this speaks to what you've done, because as I was coaching you, you were coaching me, and you were teaching me how Instagram is looked at, how it's embraced, and, you know, what people like to see. And so I would craft my content around that. You know, you look at some of those posts there of my photography sessions that, you know, I had done by a relative of mine, you know, because again, I was on a shoestring budget. So I just said, hey, grab a camera. Just my niece, she happens to be pretty good. She's got a pretty good eye, but I needed some quick content.
Yeah.
And so I had her shoot those and put those quotes in there. And you're the one that said, you know, maybe you should take this and make it a little bit more interesting by doing this, and a couple little things just to tweak it, to make it a little bit more interesting. And that's the kind of stuff that creates more engagement when it's interesting.
Right. And it does give you that kind of, but you know, when somebody sees an image on your Instagram, right, they know this is your brand, right? This is you. And that's why when we're dealing with our clients, we're very specific into finding out who they are, what they do, why they do it, because their why is so important. Because and you know, I need to know their ideal client. I need to know who they're targeting, because I can't create our content for them without that. You know, images are also, you know, there's one client we had who was like, I want more animation, like cartoon looking images. And I have another one who's like, no cartoons on my site. No. Right. Like it depends on what they're doing. You know, you can see in the background here, I have, you know, an audience, right? Because my brand is about not just entertaining people, but it's also about becoming the star of your social, and using my theatrical background to do that. And that was all Rob and I, you know, hours of sitting down and talking about how do you do this on your social. We're trying to teach someone about somebody else's brand. It's all about that. Like their images is like, nope, that person doesn't have purple on. There's no purple background. There's no you know, it's got to have an entertainment flair. Like it can't be somebody doing a quilt on a Master at Media page, because it wouldn't make sense,
Yeah.
right? You know,
I remember early on, you know, the branding process is collaborative with me and my clients. And I remember that. And you brought it up with behind both of us here, we've got this crowd kind of in this concert scene. It's this show theme. And early on, you had, because you were still straddling, still 1 foot in the IT world, in the technology world. And yes, you use technology as part of your social media company, but that doesn't mean you're a technology company the same way that I'm not, just because I use a MacBook Pro to create my content, create designs and whatnot. So you were showing shots of computers and like technological, analytical looking things. And we were talking about your message, and we had your message down, and it was, we wanted to tap into your life as a performer. So when we tapped into that, it was kind of like, then we looked at the imagery and we were like, but what's with the technology, which again, it's a disconnect to people. If we're saying, Master at Media helps get you discovered, well, what does that got to do with technology? Again, disconnect. But when we aligned the imagery, so now you've got the audience cheering and applauding for the performer on stage, which, your potential client sees as them. Well, now it all makes sense. And see, when it clicks inside somebody's mind, they're going, I like that, because I'm going to tell you this. This is where you get to charge more money, and people are happy to pay it, because clients don't want the cheapest option. They want the least risky option. And if you seem to have it all together, you're perceived as less risky. The other thing they want something different. So here's another tip. So you want a good branding tip. You want to assess whether or not your website is on point for your brand. This is very general, but here's a good way of doing it. Go to your site and pull up the tabs on all your direct competitor sites and take a snapshot, and then remove the logo and remove the photos. Now read all of them. If you read all of them and they all sound the same, guess what? You got a branding problem. You're blending in, and blending in is the opposite of branding. Branding is differentiation. So that's when your message is getting muddied. Your message sounds like everybody else. And that's when your client goes, I don't know who they are. Why? Not because it's not that you're not good at what you do, and it's not because you're not professional. It's because you're unmemorable. And so they want somebody who's unique, that stands out, so they can go, they see, it's different these days than years ago. These days, people want to associate with businesses who are like them. So they're looking for the personality. They're looking for something that's unique, that connects the both of you. And when they do that, they're willing to pay more just to do business with you. It's amazing.
Yeah. And, we talk about authenticity all the time. Like, you've got to be you. You're going to, as Jean said before, right? They're going to love you. They're going to hate you, right? It is what it is. But how are don't you want the people that love you? Who cares about the people who hate you? They can go away. We don't mind, Gina also had another comment: stay current, stay consistent, and stay on message. Content can be more fluid on social. And look, it's leveling the field. You can have this awesome, think about it. All those women that do the makeup videos on YouTube, okay? They have more followers than the Revlons and the Maybellines and all that. Why? Because they're thinking about their audience. They're not thinking about their product. They think about how are they helping their audience, and they're getting, millions of followers over these major brands, right?
I like the last line of what Jean said. People like the humanity of it. And that's because here's something you've got to get into your mind. It's people don't connect with companies. People connect with people, right? And so the brand is usually an extension of the people that are driving the company. And you could look at social businesses like Tom Shoes, right? Has a social cause. And other companies where there's a figure at the forefront, or a cause at the forefront that exudes the personality. So when you connect the people, you create that attraction. You want that connection. You got to understand something. And I recommend this to everybody, people that connect on a more human level. Absolutely, Angela. And so, I've heard Angela do her soundbite, and I've seen her do a presentation, and she really has a personality when she does it. She's not just talking about what she sells. She's putting herself into it. people connect with that. And here's the fear, right? People go like this. They go, well, I don't want to put myself out there. I'm uncomfortable on camera. I don't like my voice. I don't like the way I look. Look, yeah, join the club, because we've all felt that way, at least in the beginning. I mean, I can talk, but I couldn't talk on camera. So when I turned the camera on, it was the most boring thing I'd ever seen. When I played it back for myself, I was like, nobody's going to watch this, because you've really got to find yourself. You've got to discover those parts of your personality and amplify that. I mean, Angela embraces who she is, and she's not apologetic for it. You know, the words she used, the tonality she uses, she's animated, she engages you, and you go, I like her. I want to do it. It's a $5 holla. That's right. Gene's got it. That's Angela's thing. It's a $5 holla. You know, if I say that, people are like, ooh, they cringe, right? Because that's not my thing, but that's her thing. So when you're really real, you don't have to apologize for the person you are, and you don't have to be anybody else. But when you're you, it is obvious to people. And when you're comfortable with you, it's obvious to people, and they want to follow you. I mean, if we could just get past ourselves half the time when we create content, we would be so smart as to put ourselves in all our content. Number one, you're branding it. Number two, you're creating a brand that is your personal brand, which is built alongside your business brand, right? That's what I do, because you want to always be building in parallel. You build your company's brand and you build your personal brand. God forbid your company implodes. It gets wiped out, and I don't know, something crazy about, like, say, a pandemic, right? You can just leverage your personal brand, and anything you do, your people will follow you because you've got connection.
Yeah, and and here are other people quoting Angela's soundbite, right? Like,
Yeah.
they know, and we thank you, Angela. Like, we were on our way home from a short vacation, and my kids were driving, so I'm like, great, I can be on my phone, and I'm listening to Angela's, live, and my kids are going, wow, she's really good. Now, these are theatrical kids, okay, who are very critical and loved her. Obviously, her age demographic skewed younger as well as older, and it really worked out well. And I think that's kind of where we're looking at, like, Angela is authentic in her social, right?
Yeah.
She does lives. She understands it, like, and she's so smart, because when she's doing her social, she's encouraging people to leave comments. She's telling them, okay, we're going to have that, right, which is boosting her, and here's the other thing. Rob had said, put yourself in your social, right? Look at your social media analytics and look for yourself, because this is usually what happens. Look, we have a number of businesses we support, and I will tell you, without fail, the photos that have the people who are in the business, whether it's the people working on trees, or whether it's somebody working at their desk and they take a picture, or they're out having a glass of wine, it doesn't matter, whatever they're doing, those posts tend to do better than the inspirational posts, which are all good. Like, you can't have every single picture of yourself, but you
Right.
mix it up, right? But those posts, without fail, tend to do better overall, because people love to see the people behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
yeah,
can I just say something on that note?
yeah,
So to everybody watching, here's Maggie's expertise at work, and she told me this, and I followed it. She said that if you noticed, anytime you upload a personal photo of yourself, right? We all know this on Facebook. You change your profile photo, your cover photo, and what happens? Your feed explodes with all comments and all kinds of engagements, reactions. It explodes. And when that explosion happens, this is what Maggie told me. She goes, so Facebook goes, wow, a lot of activity on this feed. People must really like this. So what do? You follow up immediately with something alongside your message, something that you really want people to know. I mean, when I changed my cover photo on Facebook, like, you'd think what I just did there, like, so, I mean, the amount of reaction and engagement I got was off the charts. So what I did, I followed up with 3 posts that I really wanted them to see, because I don't care if I appreciate that they like my cover photo, and I like it too. But to me, that's just kind of, really filling out my profile. So it's more engaging. I had a photo up there that was, gosh, I think it was about 6 years old, and I didn't even look like that anymore. So I wanted to update it again. It's a photo that's on brand, and so it makes sense, but it got so much engagement, it really kind of
Yeah.
boosted some of the following posts.
And your birthday, the day after your birthday, best day to post anything about your business, because how many people are leaving it? So we're getting some cheeky comments, by the way, because everybody is quoting our own. So everybody is quoting every. So leave in the comments below any of your anybody who's here. Leave your little tagline, because here we go. You take the commotion out of your promotion. Serve Pro makes it like it never even happened.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's right. She said, yeah, baby or an animal baby. That's right. Oh, look, I've done that. I've taken pictures of my beasts that I have. We've got several creatures living in our house. And what do I do? So, one of my, I'm going to get better at this. I promise you, Maggie. But, Maggie's like, you want to do stories, and have you thought about reels? And, I did a story a couple of days ago, and it was of our pets, right? But look, every photo was branded. But I did a photo of all the pets. That stuff just sends people crazy when they see people's animals.
And it does. And, regardless of whether you're a cat person, a dog person, a rabbit, whatever, right? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I have to share, because this is my God kitty. So we have to share. This was one of my favorite posts Rob did. And this was, so here's Rob, right, with the hood on, which was, so right. And there's the cat, which is branded. He bought the cat branded. He did not dye the cat. But it says, who's got your back, right? It was perfect. It was taking that moment of, and look, right? He had 16 people, who engaged in it. He got a couple of comments. This is where we're talking about how you can really pull it together. It's very funny. And where I had done a live stream, and in the back on the bookcase was my cat, just sitting right there.
Yeah.
Just right there. And that was, but this is what it's all about, right?
But see, when you do that, so let's look at that in terms of the branding lens. And that is every opportunity to create content, to put something out there, has to be on brand. So, we can look at our own brands, and it's easy for me to comment on my own because I do all the content and because I do understand it. So like when you see that, I ran a filter over it that made it look more in line with the imagery of my brand. It's whenever I post something, there's going to be my color. There's going to be my logo. There's going to be something in there. Even the gym, when I go to the gym now, the colors of the gym aren't necessarily, that's just coincidence that the gym has some orange in it. Not a lot, but
over there.
The whole gym thing is just, it's part of my lifestyle, but I'm always talking about building a strong brand. I'm always talking about at the gym, it requires discipline to build strength, and you've got to build your brand daily to build a strong brand. So you can see my words are tying into my lifestyle. You've got to use whatever you've got, because some people might be like, well, Rob, I'm not a gym person, so I can't use that. Like, it's not about the gym. It's about the gym for me, but whatever your lifestyle is, wherever you spend time in your personal life, see how you can tie it into your brand. Maggie, you could be taking pictures of you and your family playing a game, and you could tie in the whole performance aspect of it. Right. You would, depending on what you write in there, you can make it work. They used to say in the advertising days, you spin your content so it's in line with your brand.
And it's so true, and my kids do tell me they do not want to be on my social media, so I cannot do that. But look, what helps a business can hurt a business, right? So you need to be very aware of making sure that you're not only keeping consistent. Like if you're consistent, and Rob's voice will be in my head. I can't tell you how many times when I decide, am I going to do something? And I'm going to share about Teleprompter. So Teleprompter was a tool that I wanted to create. And I was talking to Rob about it. and we were playing around with I wanted to use, I thought it was a very punny name. It was, it played along with my brand, which is about the entertainment industry. And Teleprompter, as it's spelled properly, is that tool that people use, right, to get a prompt on what they're going to say next, which matches what Teleprompter is, because it's to help you get your own social media, figure out what you're going to say on social media. We have a couple of subscribers on the call today that are listening. And what this does, Nancy Stangone was talking to me today about it. And one of our recent prompts was about, do a flashback of your business when you first started. And she's like, anytime I'm struggling with what to post on social media, you provide me an inspiration. And that's like what Teleprompter is supposed to do. But when I talked to Rob about Teleprompter, we had said, like, he's like, okay, so he didn't answer my question. I'm like, what do you think? He didn't answer my question. He said, well, does it match your brand? Is it consistent? Is it going to speak to your audience? What is Teleprompter? Like all these great questions that make you think. Anything in your business that you're doing, you have to think about it. And when it comes to your social media, this is your way, your easy way to communicate with clients, to keep consistently communicating with them over and over again. If you bore them, they will leave.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, first of all, Teleprompter is a great service that I subscribed to fairly early. And I'm good at building my brand, but I wasn't necessarily good at my social media. And I do create all my own content. And Maggie, you help me manage it and you give me tips on it. But I signed up for Teleprompter because it gave me that valuable information that it takes. So because we as business owners, we need to understand a lot, or at least a little bit about many things. So I learned how to create content. I need to learn how to optimize that content, how to keep it on brand, and then how to keep relevant content. And all those little tips and tricks are inside Teleprompter to be able to do that. So on a weekly basis, if you don't know what Teleprompter is, it's an email you get in your inbox that gives you a lot of great tips, inspiration, tools, insider information. There's a Q&A in there. I mean, just really, really valuable that keeps me in tune. So when I'm creating content, I'm going, okay, what did I just learn and how can I tweak it? Because look, if you're going to make content, don't you want to make it successful? Don't you want to increase engagement, whatever it is, whatever your metric is, right? Increase followers, increase saves, increase shares, whatever it may be. You want to be able to think about what you're doing in creating the content that's going to get results. Same thing with branding. Like what you just said, Maggie, when we're talking, you're going to do something, but I'm making you go, okay, think about this from a branding perspective. I know you've thought about it from your business perspective and social media perspective and your vast knowledge of IT and websites and all that, because you have that background. But now put it through that branding lens and think about how this is going to come across from a branding perspective, because what you're doing is when you strengthen all these areas, you've got something so strong that when people see it out there, wherever, on any platform, it's going to stick in their brains because it's strategized to do so.
Right.
So you really have to understand the mindset. And here's why they go, right? It's too much work. I don't understand it. Well, I mean, that's why people hire me, right? So I can help you through that process. But if you're going to take some of these tips, you've got to start thinking about it. Like, think about where your brand is, right? And then think about how your audience is going to perceive this. Is it going to perceive in line with your brand, right? So that's going to help it stick. If it's not on brand, it won't stick. And you've just kind of really wasted some content.
Right. And and Jean, thank you, Jean, for your lovely words here. But, this is where you do, talk. I'm going to circle back a ways to what you said about the questions, those FAQs, right? And by the way, guys, make sure you leave any questions for Rob. He is open to answer any questions while we're here on the live. One of the things that I suggest businesses do is to keep, I don't care whether it's a logbook or a notebook or a Google Doc or something that contains all those questions when you're talking to clients, when you're servicing people at a counter, wherever you're doing, whether it's a live or whatever it is, keep a list of all those questions people ask. Those are the best ideas for your social media content. Those answers are always the best because that's what people are interested. If one person is asking you that question, there are many people who are out there wondering
Yeah.
the same thing, but sometimes don't even know to ask the question. Like, how do you know what you don't know, right? So keep those in mind when we're talking about if they're on your website, and repurpose that content. Get that stuff together where you're batching your content together. When Rob was doing those videos, right? He had the setup already done, right? Record a video, record a video, record a video. If you have a long video, take it, chop it up, make it individual. And when you plan it, like one of the great things about batching things like that is that you could do a series. Like you could take a week or a month or whatever and make it whatever your service is that month. Like I could do an Instagram, like I do Instagram month, and I just focus on Instagram all month if I wanted to, right? Do something thematic with your industry. Jean's in the photography world, right? Jean, what could you do in the photography world? It's back to school. Is it okay? People are getting back to business. Are we all looking for, maybe we've, instead of gaining the COVID-19, maybe we lost the COVID-19. Okay. Maybe we want new pictures and new image, reinventing yourself. Have you done what could you make thematic in your business? Angela with her jewelry business, right? What are the things, Angela, that you see coming up? We're talking about the holidays, right? I mean, the summer holidays, right? Like you're here, we had the 4th of July, we had Memorial Day. She could have done things like, red, white, and blue, right? All this stuff that you can do with your social, but you got to think ahead of time. Don't just, oh, I'm in the moment. That's one of the things with Teleprompter. We do it the week before, or, the Wednesday before the week, so that you can get that information and, figure out, okay, here we go. Now I'm going to be sitting here doing this content because I know next Wednesday is whatever day. I think we've got coming up is grandma's sexiest grandma day or best looking grandma, something like that. What? I don't know if you can fit that into your brand, but if you can, you would know for Master at Media. We've got Gina's laughing at me. Okay, find. Okay, here we go. She said she's lost about what I'm lost now. She's doing Christmas in August. See? That's
Perfect.
awesome. And it's different, right, Rob? Think about this. Everybody does Christmas in July, but she's doing
Yeah.
Christmas in August, which is something different.
It's a great thing that Angela's doing there. And take that for a second from a branding perspective. When I'm working on writing strategy for clients, one of the things I do in my research is I look at all their direct competitors. And what's funny is I always thought, before I really started doing this, I thought, when I ask, clients who their competitors are going to be, they're probably going to tell me, oh, this one and that one and this one and that one. And what's funny is, and I guess in a good way, a lot of clients are like, I don't really have any competition. So they don't believe they do. Or maybe they just don't pay attention to it. I don't know. The fact is, we all do have competition, right? Even if it's inaction. But if you take your direct competitors, and we do this kind of analysis, and we look at the names of companies in particular, and we'll look at what their names are. And there's a whole matrix for looking at this, and a process for naming companies, where if it starts to seem like there's a trend in naming in companies in your industry, even if you've got a really great name and it's really clever, if they're all really great and clever in the same vein, you're going to want to name it something completely different on purpose. Because remember, it's not just about it's unique, right? So it sounds unique to you. Or, your family and friends go, wow, I really like that. That sounds cool. That's all great and good. But we're talking about success here. We're talking about standing out. So even if it's a great name and people like it, like never factors into any kind of success. In fact, I have clients all the time ask me, hey, do you like my logo? Do you like the name of my company? What do you think of it? And I have to tell them, I said, don't take offense. I said, I don't think about it because I don't have that luxury of being able to predict whether or not it's going to be effective, because that's the bottom line. Is it effective is the real question. So when you name your company, for instance, you on purpose will name it something completely different from your competitors. When you look at all of them, if they all are kind of using blues and greens and purples and they're all these cool colors, well, you immediately should go to red. Why? But I hate red. So what? Who cares if you hate it? Orange was not my favorite color. If you
I
had
love
asked
that.
me 5 years ago, blue's my favorite color. I still love blue. In fact, I love purple too. But orange was a color. Number one, it's in line with my brand, right? Gene always attaches it to hungry. You know, I guess I never thought about that part, but it's a color of heat. It's a color of energy. And so that's why it's my color. And you know what? I didn't like it at first, but after all this time, I really love the color orange. So, it grows on you, but you know what? It's the thing that makes my business work. So that's why I love it. So it's not, I wear orange, but if you catch me on the weekend and I'm at a casual event, I'm not wearing orange. Like, I don't want to look like, wearing a jumpsuit of orange. People think I'm picking up trash on the side of the road. So it's not like I love the color. I would particularly wear it, but as an accent, I do, Monday through Friday. If I'm in the business mode, I'm wearing a color. Don't use a color you can't wear. You can wear any color. I mean, come on. If I can wear orange,
honey, you don't understand palettes. You're a designer. You understand Look, I am a winter. I don't wear pale yellow. I don't wear pale pink. They're not good colors on me. That's why I'm jewel toned.
But
right?
think about this. So it's not, look, again, I don't wear shirts that are entirely orange necessarily. Sometimes I
Correct.
do. But I don't have orange pants. Actually, I do, but I don't really wear them. So in other words, you don't wear the color, you accent with the color. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, and here you've opened up a whole line of color communication. Jean actually has a question. How do you know what you don't know? How does someone start assessing their brand is on point? Great question, Jean.
It's a great question. And honestly, the fortunate or unfortunate answer is you can't. This is a skill. This is what I do. So I've learned how to assess it, and I can coach people on it, and I could make all the videos I want. And there's tons of videos on my YouTube channel if you go there. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see my content. I'll constantly be giving you great value on how to build a strong brand. But if you can't, it's hard to put it all together, right? Connect the dots to be able to actually do it effectively. So that's why I coach people on it. That's why I do a lot of their designs. The strategy has to be written first. If you don't have the strategy, you'll never know if your brand is on point. How would you know? There's no strategy that says what it actually is. So you don't really know. And I do brand assessments. So not that this is a plug to hire me, because I love, being on here with my friend Maggie. But, I can assess your brand and help you. I got an appointment later with somebody who just went to my site and booked me because they want to know, hey, does my brand suck or what? And that's essentially what they're asking me. They hope it's strong, but chances are, unless you got a strategy that dictated the brand's execution, the color, the typeface, the logo, all the designs, everything, then you don't have a strong brand, because it was never conceptualized as a unit, as a cohesive thing. So it's really not easy. You really can't be done on your own, but I'll always be there to help anybody who needs help.
No, and I strongly recommend. Rob is my branding guy. He is the person that I recommend because he knows his stuff. He's got years and years of experience in design, but he's extremely intuitive when it comes to, creating this brand. Look, I'm case in point. My business was floundering and I exploded during COVID, right? We talk about YouTube all the time. We talk about strategizing and how we're making our YouTube channels better. And, here's Rob's just case in point here with his YouTube channel. And you can see how he's creating these thumbnails. Now, if you go back to both of our YouTube channels early on, you're not going to see it as polished. You're not going to see things the same, right? But look how he's doing it, and Rob, the one I'm trying to find is the one with
I know
you. You know which one I'm trying to find, and I can't find it. But like, see how he's doing, you've got some humor here, right? This is where people or which, Rob, you're killing me. I don't know where to look for this one. But anyway, you'll have
Hit the videos tab.
the
And
videos
then
tab.
you
Okay.
probably scroll down just a little bit. I know which one you're looking for.
Yeah. Because it's great. It was
But
great.
but you
There
know
it is. Here it is. Look at this. I was like, "What the heck?" He looks at first, I'm like, "Is he going for a Mike Nesbitt thing from the Monkees?" And then I'm like, "He looks like a clown. What the heck? This discover what makes your man unique," right? Like, I was hysterical. I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is like the best." But guess what? It was something it was so off brand that it drew my attention. Like, what is he thinking? But that's kind of, it brought his point home, right? Like, this
Here's
is
the thing about that point, and it's you know I'm obviously I'm going to strengthen every part of my brand because it's what I do. So I don't mind putting myself out on a limb and wearing orange. Now look, I'm not saying that you can't. So blue is the most popular color in the world. Most businesses, their color is blue because blue emotes trust and loyalty. So it's no secret that blue does those things. That's why companies use it. Now, because it's used doesn't mean you can't use it, right? Maybe it's overused, but it doesn't mean you can't use it. Here's the thing. I didn't invent the color orange, but I own it. Maggie, you own purple. All you got to do is choose a color. Look, you're not going to invent the color that hasn't been used
right.
before. So let's just
And it's
state that.
a shade of too, right? Like, you have
Yeah.
a bright, vibrant orange. I have I have two shades of purple, which actually I'm wearing today, a paler purple and a darker purple. But you can't say I own purple because then Jean's going to get mad at us. So we got to be careful. But
Look at this. Here's my new client I haven't met yet. So this is great. So Arlene, thank you for coming here. This is great. You know what she's doing? She's getting a little sneak peek here. So
there you go.
that's a smart woman right there.
There you go. And we have Rachel. Stephanie had a question. Great. What is the best way to brand yourself within a company? And Jean is very graciously sharing the color purple, just so you're aware. But what is the best way to brand yourself within a company?
Yeah. So I get this question a lot from people. And if you work in a company, you say your business, maybe you're an independent subcontractor, you're an employee of a global behemoth, right? And so everything is logoed with their logo, and you're the one who's representing that company. I would say this, not to say you can't be done. You've got to look at the little things that you can do. And I had somebody come to me one time, and heavily regulated industries have this problem. If you sell insurance, if you're a financial advisor, anywhere in the finance industry, this is really tough because there's so much you are not able to do because you have to deal with compliance issues. But I would say this, push the envelope, man. Now, so look, if you've hung out with me long enough, you tell me a rule, I'm going to say, well, let's see if we can break that rule. Let's see how much trouble I'll actually get in. I'm of the firm believer that sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than it is to ask permission. And I met this person one time, and they were in the real estate business, and they flew under one of these big global banners, and they told me they were in real estate, and they handed the card to me, and I was like, ooh, it was a very, very nice brand, professional, polished, a little bit different. Never heard of the company before. When I turned it over, there it was, the big global logo that everybody knows and has seen. And I went, whoa, it looked nothing like the front of the card. And I said, how did you get away with this? He said to me, he goes, it wasn't easy. At first, I found out what they would let me do. And then I would keep pushing the envelope until they would say, you absolutely can't do this. Or they would go, well, okay, that's fine. And he would keep pushing the envelope. And what he did was he built his brand underneath the big brand and got away with it. So, you've got to, this is where the beast brand came from. I say you got to beast it. What does that mean? You've got to be fearless. You've got to not be afraid to break the rules, ruffle some feathers, to piss people off. Honestly, I mean, I do that all the time. People they're like, oh, I don't know. Your brand seems a little aggressive. Good. because it's meant to be. Not that I'm going to run over people, but I want to teach you how to make people uncomfortable enough to go, you know what? They're not for me, because that's what you want. We talked about it earlier, but that means you're going to get another set of people going to be like, yes, that's me. They're talking my language. That's the way I am too. And that's the way I would have said it. So you get those lovers. So if you're flying underneath one of these banners, maybe you can use a color that works with their color. You come up with a great tagline that is yours, that is not theirs. You do something a little different. You can do it with style, the way you dress. Look, I mean, a couple of years ago, we talked about my Facebook cover photo of me and my wife, and I didn't have this. I was clean shaven, but when I evolved this brand, I thought, well, I need to be able to kind of live this part a little bit. And I grew this, kind of fit in with the brand. And, that's one thing I can do. Not everybody's looking to make that kind of commitment to wearing something or styling themselves in a certain way that's going to change the way they look kind of permanently. But look, it doesn't really matter. You just be who you are, accentuate those differences, and do them all the time. It comes down to consistency, honestly, Maggie. We talked about being consistent. Whatever it is that makes you different, you have to inject it in everything you do and everywhere you appear. It's the curse of the business owner who goes, I'm bored with that, so I'm going to change it. Big mistake. Or, you know what? I don't really have time to put my color in there or change my clothes or get my hair done according to the style I usually have it. So I'm not going to do it. Big mistake. Why do you think it's called building a brand? And if building a brand was so easy, everybody would already have one. But it's so worth it to be able to do, because literally you're going to attract people to you because they want to be with you.
Right. And Stephanie is asking if she should use her nails as a branding idea. The claws.
Think about that for a second.
People know you like they know with the purple, right? Like they know, oh, Stephanie, the one with the nails. Yes. Right? Like
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, so Stephanie's with Serve Pro, right? So she doesn't own Serve Pro, right? She works for them. She, works out of one of their locations. She's head of her territory there. She's responsible for the marketing, for bringing business in. So what happens when, she shows up with nails? Look, I'm not telling you to do this, Steph, but what if you were to have Serve Pro colors? What if you had the Serve Pro logo on one of the odd colored nails, like the different ones, right? All the time.
Called an accent nail, Rob. Get with it.
I see. Look at mine. See, I don't have it. I barely have nails.
So I like this idea.
I get the nail files. Do they have nails?
I don't know. Everybody could use a nail file. It's definite. It's a definite thing. All right. So, and I wanted to give a little sneak peek of what I do with mine, with my social. We're talking about the color. Everything, we're talking about nails here, right? Like the purple nails, right? Like when I have Rob, even though he's orange, right? And I'm not, when I created I put his little, his website in the computer, right? This is things when we were talking about this just recently, where I changed my profile picture, right? And then at Rob's suggestion, and this is where you use a little bit of creativity. Okay, 4th of July, I had to use red, white, and blue, and I wanted to use this photo from when I was performing as John Adams. Now, what I did was that had a lot of yellows and earth tones, and it didn't match my brand, so I just turned it black and white, and I made sure my logo was there with its color. These are things like, this funky chick with the purple hair. Like, this is the kind of thing that I'm working into my brand and using these colors, and again, here we go with the nails again, right? Even when I have guests on, this is where you can get your social and make it consistent using, and you don't have to create new graphics all the time. You see my Master It Monday, it's a consistent look. It's a template that I reuse over and over again. I change it up enough so that, and I put in other content in between, so it's not just a row of that. But that's how you can kind of use your branding and your colors and your logo and whatever else you want to do. But keeping consistent, like Jean was saying earlier, always make sure that color, right, is in your in your photos that you're using. If you're just doing a photo, and here we go. With and use teleprompter so you don't miss National Camera Day, because poor Gene. Sorry, Gene. But that's one of the reasons why I created Teleprompter, because when I was sitting down and looking at my YouTube followers and the questions coming out, some of the things were, well, I need accountability. Well, I need somebody to help me every week. Well, I can't afford you to do my own social, but I need help, right? All of those things, listen to your customers. And if you don't have a product that meets what they need, create it. That's what Teleprompter did. Is I just created it.
Yeah.
And who knows, can Teleprompter overtake my flagship product? Maybe. Like, I don't know. It certainly has the potential to do that. And I think that's where you look at your business and you say, take a deep dive, call up Rob, get on his calendar, find out if, Rob, tell them, here's your website. Is there something that they can do? They can get a feel for, they can obviously go to your YouTube channel, which we share. Just search for Unleash My Beast brand on YouTube. But is there something else that you can help people with their brands?
I mean, I think say that's probably the best place. I mean, you can certainly go to my website and learn more about what we do, and all my all my platforms are there. You can connect with your favorite platform. Certainly, the YouTube channel is a great place to go if you want to learn more about what we talked about today in terms of branding. I've got a ton of videos on there that will give you all these tips to help you understand that branding mindset, because that's all it really is a mindset. And a lot of what I teach doesn't take a lot of sophisticated skills. I mean, if you can just go to Canva and use those tools there, it's a very simple tool to create content. And you say, you find a color, right? Well, now you've got a tool and you've got a color. Pick a typeface that you will always use, and always use that typeface. Now you've got like 3 things right there that are going to help you build a brand. And then find out what imagery you connect with, your brand connects with. Mine connects with things that are very energetic. You've seen my Maggie's connects with things that are performance-based, anything like that. And so anytime you pick imagery, make sure it's reflective of the images that represent your brand best. And then just be consistent. Always the color, always the typeface, always the imagery, always use your logo, and just create consistent content with those things in mind. And you will be further than most people in building a brand. You'd be shocked.
Yeah. And I think that's where we, with Canva, you mentioned with Canva has this amazing, and there's a link in the comments and the description below. You have a way to upload your logos, of creating a brand kit with your fonts, with your colors. It's already there because Canva realizes the value of branding. So make sure you use those tools so you don't always have to, what is my, what's that hex number for my, you just do it right there to make it so much easier. Rob, I want to thank you so much for coming and being a guest. It's been a year since the last time you were on Master It Monday, so I appreciate you coming in again to share your insight and your invaluable ideas with helping us and our listeners get more out of their brand and to solidify their brand so that they can make their competition irrelevant.
Thank you, Maggie. Always great talking with you, for sure.
So if you enjoyed this video, give Rob some love in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up. Share it so that other people who were unable to attend can get the insight that Rob has shared with us. Angela, thank you for joining us, and Stephanie as well. We're happy to provide the tips. Rob and I are members of Master Networks. If you go to masternetworksnyct.com, you can find out how you can find us there, along with a ton of other amazing professionals like Jean and Stephanie and Angela, who were on the call today and sharing their questions. And Rachel, thank you so much for joining us, Rachel and her amazing doTERRA. We have tons of videos on YouTube, youtube.com/Master It Media, believe it or not. We have the name. Make sure you leave us any comments or questions below. Rob and I will be checking back to answer any of those who were not able to join us online. And as always, with Master It Media, we're here to help you. What are we doing? Take the
Take the
commotion
commotion out of
out
your
of your
promotion.
promotion.